So what we have, guys, is a developing story. And we're just about to join the radio show in progress. I wasn't planning on doing a stream today, but man, there's a story happening. And I wanted to bring it to you and from the people who know best. So I'm glad you're here. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Be sure to subscribe wherever it is you subscribe. We're coming to it. One could argue that it is a coup that is breaking out in South Korea. One could be very, very correct about this. Or is this the start of a war? You would think we're still talking about the pardon. You'll still think we're talking about Biden and the lies being told and the purposeful deceit in all of it. This has all broken very, very recently. This is all in the span of a couple of hours on a Tuesday morning. Tony Katz Today. Good to be with you. Yoon Suk Yeol. We would in America say Yoon, Y-O-O-N, as a first name. Suk, S-U-K, as a middle name. Yeol, Y-E-O-L, is the last name. That's certainly not how they would do so in South Korea, but I share it that way so you know the name that I'm referring to. This is the president of South Korea, who made a claim on national television just some hours ago that communist forces, opposition forces, are working to destabilize South Korea, and in a televised address, seemingly unbeknownst to others, institutes martial law. The South Korean parliament, some hours later, votes 190-0 to counteract this decision and say absolutely not. Meanwhile, what we're hearing is that the president continues to push forth this idea, Yoon Suk Yeol pushing this idea that, yes, martial law is in effect, and this could absolutely bring a serious level of change and destabilization to the Korean Peninsula, which is only good news for Kim Jong-un in North Korea. Major Mike Lyons joins me right now, retired United States Army West Point graduate military analyst. You were just talking on a CNN about this, where you try and feed them important truth there. This was how some of the people at CNN were describing the situation. Listen.
Said that he needed to implement martial law across this bastion of democracy here in East Asia in order to preserve the rule of law. So going back to this speech that happened just about 2 hours ago, televised to the nation, President Yoon Suk Yeol writing that he is taking these measures to, quote, safeguard a liberal South Korea from the threats posed by North Korea's communist forces and to eliminate anti-state element. We have.
Now, I ask you, Major Lyons, what is the story here? Is that reporting accurate?
Tony, this isn't a situation nobody expected, nobody predicted at this point. Declaring martial law in a democratic nation like South Korea is tremendous. So the impact is so many different forces on the economy, on the security overall. What's happening there at 1 o'clock in the morning? It does look like a coup. It looks something that we see in third world banana countries. So what's happening? It appears that this president with a low approval rating is trying to gain more control. And initial pictures that I saw did show some kind of military forces in that National Assembly trying to either prevent people from voting or trying to prevent something from happening there. The thing about it, though, is South Korean forces are very well aligned with U.S. forces that are there. Multiple different military bases there. They're likely all on high alert right now. And the challenge is, as I see it, is if you're North Korea, now's the time where there's a lot of unrest happening in South Korea. So the situation is so fluid. And I think to kind of not lastly, but right now it's going to depend on how strong the democratic institutions are in South Korea. It's only been a democracy since 1987. It had military law up until the 80s when the people decided they didn't want to do that. And it's only been aligned with the United States really since then. So it's still a young democracy on a lot of levels, but very well advanced. Military's got tremendous technology. And if these institutions fail us right now, then we are in big trouble. The linchpin for South Korea in that part of the world is just tremendous from a military perspective. So let's see what the military does. I guess that's my point. Let's see what the chairman of the Joint Chiefs does if he deploys the military at this point.
Well, let's take a step back even before we get to that moment, because there's a tremendous amount happening here. There's a lot of pieces at play. First, let's talk about the South Korean president. This is a nation that has tried everything regarding how they deal with North Korea. In the previous president, whose name eludes me right now, it was the sunshine policy. It was about trying to create a lot of love between South Korea and North Korea to get them to bring down this nuclear threat and this kinetic threat. That absolutely failed, and South Korea moved to a much more hardline stance.
Right.
So that stance being taken, why is the current president of South Korea, as you know it, unpopular in the country?
I think it's other aspects of how he's leading that country. They have economic challenges, and when you take such a hawkish view, maybe it affects some of the people. They're having the challenges of a military, of a democratic military that we do, frankly, with recruiting, low birth rates. The South Korean military,
low birth rates, yes.
Yeah, the South Korean military is squared away. They have great equipment. I've trained with them a couple of times back in the day, and they had their stuff tightly wired and continue to. They have to, given the threat that comes there from the north. So I think that's what's happening here. And like anything else in politics, personality matters, and the guys that have a good personality.
And all politics are local. Talking to Major Mike Lyons, retired United States Army, West Point graduate, military analyst. So we can understand this. All politics are local. None of us necessarily experts in South Korean politics. But certainly when you see a move like this, not telling anybody, engaging martial law, let's now bring in part of that military conversation, which is nobody makes this move without knowing what the other hand is going to do, who their friends are, who they coordinated with, who they expect to have backup from. It would be assumed then by people like yourself, analysts and others, that the president of South Korea is not moving in a vacuum.
Yeah, that would be the assumption, but maybe that's a wrong assumption here. We did see some what appeared to be military presence there at Seoul in the National Assembly. But this is going to come down to a guy named Admiral Kim Yoon-soo. Admiral Kim is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff there. And now that the parliament has voted not to go forward with this, not to go forward with martial law, the question is, what does he do? He's a hawk. He's somebody that just is confirmed just last year there, much aligned with President Yoon. And so the question is, does he abide by this constitutional norm now of not deploying the military? I mean, I'd like to see what that plan looks like. I mean, are we going to see tanks rolling in downtown Seoul? I mean, what exactly does that look like from a martial law perspective? So, so again, the question is, if he didn't pass this through this cabinet and through the military, then this whole thing is just kind of a big show to begin with anyway.
Looking at some of the reporting, South Korean military saying that parliamentary activities are banned, and it is believed they have blocked the entrance to the National Assembly. But the National Assembly did vote. It was a 190-0 vote to say there's absolutely going to be no martial law here. This is not going to take place. And it is unknown whether or not the president here has said, you know what, we're doing this anyway. The president being Yoon Suk Yeol, Y-O-Y-E-O-L, Yoon Suk Yeol, and whether or not this is going to stay in place. In order for this to happen, he has to have the military behind him, but he won't have the people behind him. To the extent that you have a cursory understanding of South Korean history, South Korean politics, the people of South Korea just going to let this play out, or are you expecting to see South Koreans on the street? Never mind the South Korean military.
No, I think that we're only 2 generations away from when South Korean grandparents that are alive right now, people back in the 70s, 80s, whether they were young or much older, remember what it was like to live in South Korea under that military dictatorship. So I suspect that that they're going to, take this side of liberty and freedom and democracy. The question is just how much hard line does the military come down, or if it comes down at all. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, because you could see a situation like Tiananmen Square. You could see a situation where they deploy heavy military assets to try to protect things, to move some process along. And then for the overall then security of the country is now at risk. Look, Seoul, South Korea is in well within 10,000 artillery tube range of North Korea, and those guys get up every day, and they have to figure out that could happen. That's a tripwire that could happen. It's been that way since the 1950s. So again, to answer your question, I don't think the South Korean people will stand for this, and they'll probably try to move quickly to impeach and remove this president and get a new political leader.
See, if there is a coup underway, impeachment is a nice political move, but it's going to take force. Before we get into what is the clearest problem, which is North Korea, let's talk about the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything within a treaty that you know of, or a relationship that you know of, that commits the United States to acting in a certain way? And if you are right now at CENTCOM, what kind of posture is the U.S. taking watching this unfold?
Yeah, there is a treaty, is a bilateral treaty that we have with South Korea. They fall under a nuclear umbrella protection, in fact, that is something that probably Ukraine would want from the United States. But there is clearly a treaty that exists there. We have 2nd Infantry Division. We have soldiers there, family members. We are well vested in the future of South Korea when it comes to that as a democracy. I think it's the 5th or 6th leading trading partner. I mean, it is the linchpin for us as we try to stay a relevant force in the Pacific. We use their naval bases. Land exercises are happening all the time. We're on the same radio frequencies. So yeah, there's a significant intertwining between the militaries in there, as well as the country. The country does have a bilateral agreement.
Let me interrupt you. Being on the same radio frequencies, having this level of connection, does that mean on a military side we have a level of understanding what's happening inside that maybe on the press side we don't know yet?
Oh, no question about that, especially given where these bases are and given exactly what's going on. And I'm sure American military commanders, as I said, they've probably alerted units and they've brought them into base, but I think they're probably reaching out to their counterparts in the South Korean military and likely persuading them the latest news, which is the parliament has voted against this. So this is where, again, democratic, democracies and institutions and norms and societies decide, which direction they're going to go in. There's nothing, just because the parliament says we're not going to have a revolution doesn't mean to say that the military still can try to pull this off. So I'm sure that's taking place.
Talking to Major Mike Lyons, retired United States Army West Point graduate military analyst. Now let's take a look north, and you take a look at North Korea. First, nothing would surprise me if you told me there were actors from North Korea infiltrating the South, trying to engage some level of destabilization. That as a matter of standard practice, Major, that would not surprise me. But if you are Kim Jong-un and his team, who are maybe crazed but not dumb, what does this signal to you? What opportunity do you believe this offers to you? Is this about trying to take some land? Is this about utilizing this as a world opportunity to get some dollars and some food relief? What does this signal?
It's a great question. I think it's going to have them more aligned with China and their alliance that they have right now. I think they'll likely sit back and wait to see what happens. I know, I said before, this is a high security time that North Korea could decide to blow the whole thing up. When you think about it, I mean, you've got to prepare for that contingency, which I'm sure is the other side to what the U.S. forces are doing right now. They're monitoring very closely activity at the border, any kind of thermal, anything that's going on there, if they're moving troops there or whatever. So I'm sure that's taking place as well. But if you're North Korea, it'd be a death wish if you decided to start something. But if things are chaotic in South Korea, that's usually what happens. You look at history, that's what happens. So the question is, how sane do you think the North Korean leader is?
Well, that does not leave one with a good answer now, does it?
No.
Just really quick before I let you go, this in South Korea, do you believe this resolves in 2 hours with the president being deposed, or do you believe we're about to see something very ugly?
Well, I think the next 2 hours would matter. I think that it's still early daybreak there, and that kind of matters when people wake up. A lot of people have slept through this at this point. But but it's going to, the next 2 hours are very critical, and that they're going to have realized this is a tremendous self-own if it obviously, continues to go in this direction, because we see this drops in the market, the drops in their internal security. So they've really hurt themselves by doing this. The president has. So if he can withstand this, we'll have to see. I don't think he will. And the question is, it looks like Democratic institutions have held. We won't know until kind of the sun comes up, I think.
That is Major Mike Lyons, retired United States Army military analyst, MAJ Mike Lyons, Lyons, MAJ Mike Lyons on the Twitter box. I appreciate you being with us, sir. More is coming up. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. And the radio show went to a commercial break. There's Major Lyons right there. Now, we're still live streaming, so don't put your nose. No, all keep the glasses on. All People should know. They should know that you're.
They're just readers. I'm not wearing glasses.
That is a frightening situation for everybody watching the live stream, and you're still on. On a scale of 1 to complete surprise, where do you put this?
A 10, complete surprise. I mean, it's so unusual for a democracy that we are so aligned with from a cultural perspective to have pulled something like this off or tried to this president. I mean, it shows, this gets back to deterrence. There's no deterrence on any of these countries based on our current president and current administration for consequence for what their actions are. I mean, you saw Donald Trump put this thing out about Hamas. If he was the president, no question. Like, you got 24 hours to release these hostages. These are citizens of America. These are citizens of Rome. Think about how that went. That's the mentality. Your primary objective is to protect American citizens. We have a president roaming the world in Angola someplace, hasn't even made a statement on it. And potentially if something happens there, we could have Americans killed if something goes on. So there's no deterrence anywhere in the world right now about American consequences. And that has to change sooner than later, or if not, there's just a matter of what the powder keg is going to be and what the tripwire is.
Pax Americanus, baby. That's what we're talking about. I'm going to let you go, Major Mike Lyons. I appreciate you, man. I will catch you very soon. Good man. Always appreciate him being with us. I was not planning on the stream today, anything. And then this news broke. The part that bothers me is total surprise, because we brought up the whole idea of communication channels. You know what's going on. You guys are talking. You guys are hearing each other. No one knew this was being planned. No one. Because a coup is not spur of the moment. That's just not how these things work. It's not how any of these things work. Now, Henry, first of all, thanks for being part of the show. War. And yes, the most important 2 hours in human history is happening now. With all due respect, not the most important 2 hours in human history. However, I'm not going to deny its importance. I'm just not going to rank it as such. This is super ugly. This is super, super ugly. And to the point that Major Lyons is making there. The idea that you don't know where this is going to go, the idea that we're so taken by surprise. I feel like I'm wearing my glasses. I keep reaching for them. That's nutty. That is really a surreal statement to make. So I'm gonna have some more on this. We're gonna see who else we can bring in and kind of talk. I do have a show to get to, and I'm gonna keep going. I'm certainly not gonna stop the stream now. I'm glad you guys are here. Be sure to subscribe and like YouTube, whether you're watching on Facebook at Tony Katz Radio or at my home station 93 WIBC. Whether you are watching on Twitter at Tony Katz, be sure to subscribe and like all the places. 30 seconds heard, young man. Absolutely, positively heard right there. I'm just gonna check some news. We will go with music in 5. All right, so we've got more to get to. We will get to it right now. this South Korea story is going to absolutely dominate. And we're going to get back to it. But there was a story that I caught regarding what's happening in China. And it's always good to remember that China has their fingers in everything they possibly can. China is a threat, and you need to be aware of some of the internal pressures happening there. The internal pressures happening in China involve a continued paranoia of Xi Jinping. And you say to me, why is the leader of China paranoid? Because all communist leaders are paranoid. Paranoia is not a bug of communism. It is a feature. Tony Katz today. Great to be with you. And the story is, why is Xi Jinping's China purging its senior military leaders? And they have had a couple, an admiral recently, the defense minister being investigated for corruption, a whole host of things. Why is this happening in this nation where Xi Jinping is supposed to have complete and total control? Communism breeds paranoia, breeds fear. It's what it thrives on. It's because everything in communism is a lie. All communists are liars. Everything in communism is a lie. This includes democratic socialists. The democratic socialists of America are, as in my view, predicated on a lie that somehow they can bring about a kinder, more decent world, a more orderly world, a safer world, a better world, and they could do all of this if you would just let them redistribute your money. Like that is the overarching. Everything would be better if you would just let them totally dominate you and take all of your dollars and all of your things and do with it what they saw fit, because they really know how to be good, kind, and decent, and you need to learn. It's the same philosophy that goes along with these people who believe in like this what is his name? Klaus Schwab. You'll own nothing and you'll be happier. Well, they truly believe this. They believe that the world should progress to a place where you own no things, no actual tangible things, and you'll be happier. Well, what about them? Will they still own things? Well, yes, they'll have to own things because they'll be the ones who are making sure that you're so happy with none of the things that you own. Well, what if I want to own something? Oh, we don't allow that. You don't allow me to own things? No, we don't allow that, and that way you'll be happier. But I want to own it. Well, if you try to own it, we'll hurt you. Well, that doesn't make me happy. When you're not allowed to own things, you're a slave. Just so you know. But the reason that you see this from Xi Jinping, and you see this purging, just like you see the disappearing. Disappearing is when somebody steps out of line, says something you don't like, and you basically hide them away in a jail cell for an hour, a month longer, and they come out and they're so subservient and so wonderful, and I love Xi Jinping so much. It's because they just got tortured for however long. The more power you try to concentrate, the more people you are afraid of, the more people you think are acting against you. The paranoia grows because it must, because that is human nature, and communism cannot account for this. So you take those people out. It's like those people in the days of the Gulag saying, I can't believe I'm here. If Stalin knew I was here, he'd get me out right away. We're friends. Stalin's the reason you're in the Gulag, because paranoia is a feature of this communist regime. And what you're seeing with furthering economic pressures, furthering population pressures, you're seeing the paranoia, the collapse, which can be dangerous before it gets good. I'm Tony Katz. All right, guys, we have got a lot more to get to. We'll take a little break right now. Keep it right here. Thanks. So producer Landon is in my ear, and he's telling me about this story he sent me where there are people so opposed to Donald Trump that they are sterilizing themselves. He caught this off of Twitter. Colin Rugg reporting, women are now sterilizing themselves after Donald Trump's election, saying it's their only option. Allow me. No, it's not. No, it's not. It is not your only option. As a matter of fact, there are a tremendous number of options. Donald Trump won the election. The person you wanted didn't win the election. Have yourself a bourbon and then go back to work. Go raise your kids. Oh, you don't have kids? Well, get into a relationship. Learn how to build a boat inside of a bottle. I don't know. But what is this idea? What is this madness that somehow the only answer is, well, I have to sterilize myself? Nobody wants this for you. Maybe you don't know how to deal with your own feelings. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe that's the fundamental flaw here. By the way, if you'll notice, my digital director said, why isn't the TK logo behind you? And I said, because I had the other logo behind me. And she said, you shut your mouth and you put up the sign I want. And I said, just please don't hit me anymore. So there it is. There it is. Back. Let's get back to the show. See where I am right now. Wasn't sure what I was going to get to here. I'll do this. The pardon heard around the world has hit in a lot of ugly ways. It is obvious to every rational person that Joe Biden lied. It is clear to every normal human being that he never was serious when he said he would not pardon his son. As a matter of fact, as NBC News reported it, the president has discussed pardoning his son with some of his closest aides, at least since Hunter Biden's conviction in June. This, according to two people with direct knowledge of the discussions about the matter. They said it was decided at the time that he would publicly say he would not pardon his son, even though doing so remained on the table. Oh, so not only were you lying, not only did you know you were lying, you had no problem whatsoever with doing so. You actually got with people to decide whether or not the lie was good enough. Maybe there was a better way to do it. Good Lord. Did I say hello? Tony Katz? Tony Katz today? 833-468-8669. 833-GOT-TONY. That's the number. That's how you get to be a part of the show right here. There were some other things coming out about South Korea, and I wanted to make sure that I had them. So far, I don't have anything from Joe Biden regarding speaking of this. We know that they've been in contact with the South Korean government after the martial law declaration. The question is, with who? This is all taking place in the last couple of hours. You had the president of South Korea, Yoon Suk Yeol, declaring martial law. The government didn't know this. Hours later, they vote 190-0 to end martial law. It is not known right now whether or not that has actually happened. Is the South Korean military preventing people from getting into the General Assembly or getting out, or from actually voting on anything else? Where is the military? Are they the side of the president? They're the side of the people? The people who are now just waking up to this news. This all happened in the overnight in South Korea. What will be their reaction? And then what is the reaction, of course, of North Korea and how they might act in hearing this. So I have got much more to get to on this subject. I'm being asked who saw this coming in South Korea, and the answer is no one. Now, let's make sure we qualify that statement just a bit. No one who said anything, nothing public. That doesn't mean that people didn't know. It doesn't mean that people were not aware. It means that it is very clear that people in the know who get updates on military things, whether they be reporters or bloggers, whatever you want to call them, they were unaware. People who would normally leak these kinds of things were unaware. And that in and of itself might tell you quite a bit. The reaction to the pardon is also telling us quite a bit. It is everything we thought it would be. Which, and I discussed this, don't react to the pardon, but rather take a look at the reactions to it. Take a look at those people who are engaged in trying to tell you that this pardon is actually good and that somehow the rules had changed. No rules changed. Nothing changed. Well, they were going after Joe Biden's son so hard, and the deal with the DOJ fell apart. So that means that all bets are off, and Biden could do whatever he wants. Not the case. First, they catch Jill Biden speak with some children, and the children are walking off stage, and she's hugging the babies, and they're asking her.
All right, thanks for coming, guys. Dr. Biden, do you support the pardon of Hunter?
Dr. Biden. Ah.
Pardon of Hunter, Dr. Biden. Dr. Biden, what changed on the pardon of Hunter?
Now, if you missed her there, of course I support the pardon of my son. Well, of course. What is she going to say? No, I think it's wrong that you pardon Hunter. I think it's absolutely wrong that you did anything that might help that guy. What do I think of Hunter?
These people.
That's right. Hunter Biden and his out of wedlock kid.
These people.
I don't need any part of them. What else was she going to say? There was actually nothing else she could possibly say. Then there is her Biden's former White House communications director, Kate Benningfield. She's there on the CNNs and letting you know that, hey, this is just fine.
I think the idea that Biden has somehow opened the door for Trump to do things that he was not otherwise going to do is completely ludicrous. I mean, it is Trump who has completely thrown norms out the window here for the now almost last decade. In many ways, I think Biden was responding to, what Donald Trump himself and his appointees, like Kash Patel, have said about how they intend to use the Justice Department. And I think it's understandable that a father would make that decision.
Yeah, but for 10, 11 years?
Well, I do think, I wish that he had conveyed differently that he was considering doing this.
So you wish he hadn't lied. An 11-year pardon, which, everybody is with me, right? We're all in this and all understanding this is to cover Biden family business. It is the Biden crime syndicate, in my view, one man's opinion. It is absolutely between Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Jim Biden. That's the brother of Joe Biden, his wife, the daughter. They've been trading on the family name and been super duper shady. The big guy, I'm convinced, of course, like you are, that's Joe Biden. This goes without question. I wish he had said it differently. Is that right?
I think it is. I think there are different ways to convey ambiguity when you have not made a decision. I think even after the election, having his team say he wasn't going to do this, I do think there is a cost that comes with that, and I wish that he had done that differently. I don't think the pearl clutching from Republicans about again, Biden has somehow like blown the doors off, using the justice system in an independent way. I don't think that carries a lot of water. I do understand.
Pearl clutching from Republicans to note that someone is a liar. And I got an email from somebody saying, Tony, you're calling him a liar. That's way too nice. You're not making it strong enough. Settle. Because I think that's not actually true. We could argue how this goes deeper, and I certainly have, and what I think it means for Republicans. I brought that up yesterday. You can catch the podcast wherever it is you get your podcast, Tony Katz Today, and listen to that. And that is that Republicans need to, in these first 2 years, pass every piece of legislation, no matter what Democrats do or say. They scream, they yell, they put things up on TV, they hold marches. So what? Get it passed. Get the border secure, get the taxes down, put an end to the fentanyl, stop allowing children to be mutilated. I'll get to that story coming up in a little bit. Move, quick, done. Drain the swamp. Then we can talk about other things. But you should be talking about them now amongst yourselves, and then after this first crop of things gets done, bring on the next crop, and do not stop. You must move. Put them on their heels and pay them no mind. 2 years. Get it done. Those things that you should have gotten done the first term, get it done. You've had 4 years to plan it out. Get it done. So I don't think there's pearl clutching taking place here. There is the noticing that this guy is a fraud and a liar, and he's always been a liar, going back to his days of plagiarism and Neil Kinnock. He's always been a fraud of a person. The pearl clutching is really non-existent. The political left saying, oh, this is fine. Oh, he didn't lie. Oh, he didn't lie? Of course he lied. This brings us to Representative Dan Goldman. Dan Goldman out of New York was an impeachment manager. Dan Goldman fell on the sword for the Biden administration so many times, including the idea that Biden is sharp as a tack, that Biden's a wonderful guy, that Trump this, that, and the other. Trump will actually bring back malaria. I'm sure somewhere he said those exact words. And Goldman, every time he talks, every time, Goldman comes across like a guy who is in a hostage video. Just stares right at the camera. Eyes are kind of soulless. It's super weird. He's on with Breonna Keeler. At CNN, and she's like, hey, let me play something for you.
You went out on a limb backing up Biden when he said that there would not be a pardon. In July of 2023, just after that plea deal fell through, this is what you said. I want to watch.
Do you think a pardon for his son would be a mistake?
Yes, and I don't think there's any chance that President Biden is going to do that, unlike his predecessor, who pardoned all of his friends and anyone who had any access to him. And I think you see that in this case, where he kept on, and Merrick Garland kept on, a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney to investigate the president's son. If there is not an indication of the independence of the Department of Justice beyond that, I don't know what we could look for.
So she says, hey, here's something you said in 2023. Let me show you. And it doesn't cut to the clip. Like usually doing TV, it'll cut to the clip and then you're not on camera. You can get a sip of water, you readjust yourself, whatever. No. They keep him on camera while they're showing him this clip from over a year ago, where he's saying that this is ever something that Joe Biden would do. And then they come back and Breonna Keeler's like, so, how'd that feel?
What does that feel like, watching yourself back then, reassuring people that Biden was not going to issue a pardon for his son?
Yeah, and I think that if that plea agreement and that plea deal had gone through, there would be no pardon. That was a satisfactory outcome.
It already fallen
that
through.
Only was. Sorry?
When you reacted, this was when the deal had fallen through.
So you now have Dan Goldman, Democrat congressman, trying to explain what he said in 2023 and how it didn't come true. And Joe Biden did exactly what the rest of us thought he was going to do by saying that it's because the plea deal fell through. The plea deal had already fallen through before he had said this in 2023. And there's Dan Goldman attempting to lie about what he said on tape that we all just saw. We saw the video. We heard the video. We were able to capture it in full. There's no shame. They don't stop. They don't rest. They don't quit. So if you think it's wrong to notice what an absolute fraud Congressman Goldman is being right there, and you want to call that pearl clutching, Kate Bedingfield, you're more than welcome to, except you're wrong. And you sound silly, totally disconnected. You want a fraud? How about the fact that you knew Joe Biden was more and more incompetent every single day that you were in the White House and you covered it up? You lied to America and your political allies, including people you who now work at MSNBC like Jen Psaki, lied to the American people. How could you not have? How could you not have? Everybody could see that the man is infirm and incapable and doesn't know where he is. He's in Angola right now. He's in Africa and he's being led around, quite physically led around and moved around. He doesn't know where he's at. And you allowed that to happen. It continued to grow under your watch. So if you want to discuss people who are engaged in a level of manipulation, start with yourself. Dan Goldman, willing to lie to your face. What we said yesterday holds. You don't have to overreact to this. Exactly what we said. Watch other people's reactions. It'll tell you everything. And what does it tell you? They'll say anything for power. Anything for power. I'm Tony Katz, and this is Tony Katz Today. Guys, welcome back. Sorry, I needed to. You don't need to know what I was doing. Maybe some things should be private. Okay, so I really do appreciate the notes on the studio stuff. It's weird because we've got a big studio, but the way we do camera stuff because of the radio, it's very, very closed, and I don't have the faraway backdrop, right? So we got the lighting. This is actually a window that goes outside. This is changing to gray, so that way things will show up better in the front, and it'll look like there's a little more distance. I think we're almost there on the lighting. I don't think anything's getting blurry. It just sometimes it seems that way to me when I move, because I do move. Like I move a lot, but I think it's my monitor that's giving me a fit. So I'm gonna get a new monitor, right? So that's what I'm gonna do, because it needs to look right. It needs to seem right. But this looks good. This looks okay. Thank you so much. Really glad you're here. Don't forget to subscribe there, whether it's YouTube or whether it is the Twitters at Tony Katz. All of it. What else? TonyKatz.com. And we're doing a lot of things. Oh, and as for the cigar, this is the Spirit of the Lady from La Gloria Cubana. I don't know if other people like the cigar. I'm crazy about it. I don't know what that flavor is that so moves me, but I think it's just a beaut. Right there. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if it's gonna. Come on, do it. It's killed me. Sorry. I like it a lot. Some people have been asking, Tony, what can we get you for Christmas? Oh, that's so sweet, but I'm Jewish. Tony, what can we get you for Hanukkah? May I suggest, it's out now. It is available, and you can get me one. This is the Arturo Fuente Hublot watch, and it's available for you to get for me, Tony Katz today. So it is the 25th anniversary of the Fuente Opus X brand. And I'm a big fan of the Opus X. I like it quite a bit. And it is Hublot, or is it Hublot? Neither here nor there. It is their new collaboration. And if you want to pick one of these up for me, it's only $40,000, and it comes in a grand green lacquered watch box that could double as a humidor. So honestly, it's like you're getting me two gifts for the price of one. I don't see why you're not doing that right now. That's a dang good gig. Good gift. Make it happen. I'm Tony Katz. Oh, look at that thing. Look at that thing. Now, to the extent that I'm a watch guy, I am. I just don't play in some spaces because I don't spend enough to be able to get on the Rolex lists. I mean, I have one. I have a 1959 Oyster Perpetual. I love it. I love it. It is so simple. This is, I wear this often. This has become almost an everyday. I know Bulova isn't the brand that it used to be in terms of how people view it as a name. I just think they do really cool stuff. It doesn't make any sense. And so this is the remake of the surfboard. It's got that kind of blue in the middle and the orange and blue, and I love it. I actually got this off of eBay, so the orange is a little bit faded, but I don't care. I adore this thing. I think it's fantastic, right? I like a little color, a little punch, a little fun. That's why I like that green one. I think it's great. In the Rolex world, I have the two-tone, like that kind of 1970s, that kind of 80s mid-management Rolex there. I've got that in Jubilee band. I've got the 59, although I'm looking for an original band for it. If anybody knows where I can find an original band for a 59 Oyster Perpetual, that would be great. Not date, just Oyster Perpetual. And then a Submariner is one, maybe a presidential. Although it would have to be the right deal, but Submariner is next on the list, right? One or two pieces really to fill out. And then I just like stuff that's interesting. Like my first real watch purchase was a 1959 Hamilton Thin-O-Matic. Oh, it's so cool. It's so cool. What is it worth? I have no idea what it's worth, but it's fantastic. It is stupendous. I do have a Tudor advisor. So Tudor is considered like baby Rolex. What's interesting about the advisor is that it has an alarm clock. It actually rings. You can set the alarm. It's crazy neat. I love it. I'll wear it sometime on the show. And then I've got some unique stuff. I have the Blue Angels watch from Citizen, which I think is a terrific piece. I have Tag makes the Monaco Gulf. So the Monaco is the square one, and the Gulf is the original colors of Gulf Oil, and they're connected to racing. Steve McQueen and all that, and that was always the watch. Like, that was it. That was the desire. And then I finally, oh my gosh, I can afford it. And I tried it on, and I said, this is so uncomfortable. And so I bought the quartz version of it, which is still really pretty with the blue band, the blue stitch band. Maybe there's a specific name for it. I don't know it. So I have some fun, cool, interesting pieces. But I getting some collectibles is next on the list, and certainly one should have the Submariner in the arsenal of things. I think for me, I like the green. A Sprite would absolutely be wonderful. Would enjoy that a lot. So this, if you want to get me that watch, you are more than welcome to. I didn't know this would become watch talk, but it is. I appreciate you guys being here. I've got more radio to do. I got to go right now, and I wasn't planning on doing the live stream today, but I'm glad it worked, and we'll be back tomorrow. Be sure to get on the YouTubes and subscribe and like TonyKatz.com. Find everything there and be supportive. I'd appreciate it. And of course, you can go on the Twitter X at Tony Katz. Twitter X. That's what they should call it. Twitter X at Tony or Twitix. Let's just call it Twitix. I have named it. I have renamed it. It's Twitix. It's Twitter, but with a twist, or really an X. So I appreciate you guys. Follow me there, and I will catch you next time.